my podcast is on the new Te Kaha Christchurch Stadium. I've interviewed high-level coach and former rugby player Tim Redfern, James Kent from the Christchurch City Council, and some members of the public to hear their views on Christchurch's new centre of attention. The new stadium in Christchurch has been the new talk of the town recently. The state-of-the-art sports and entertainment facility is supposed to be a game changer for the city and region. The stadium, named Te Kaha, is designed to host a wide range of events, including rugby, concerts and much more. It boasts modern engineering and slick architecture. The plans show a smooth and environmentally friendly design and seats that can accommodate up to 30,000 spectators for sporting events and concerts. It also features new technology, premium seating, and world-class services, including restaurants, luxury suites, and ample parking. I decided to interview some members of the public to hear their thoughts on Te Kaha.
The whole thing's corrupt.
I don't go to town much, so I don't actually know.
I feel like we're not prepared for that, like we've actually travel public transport and stuff, but
It's a good thing for me. I'm not thinking much past just, it would be nice to have it.
We could have spent money elsewhere.
I think it's pretty good actually, and it's going to be a bit more central, so like heaps of more people are going to get to come to it.
Not even so.
Former Christ College First 15 rugby player and high school Old Boys Premier rugby player, with over 200 games under his belt, Tim Redfern shares his opinion on the new Christchurch attraction.
Well, look, it'll be great for our economy. Not only will the hospitality sector benefit, retailers, hotels, motels, they'll all benefit from Christchurch hosting big sporting events and cultural events.
In addition to sports events, the stadium will also host major international and local concerts, ensuring that Christchurch residents can enjoy a wide variety of entertainment options right in the middle of their city.
Not just sport, I would definitely go to concerts. If there's big concerts here, I'd love to go to concerts at the stadium, but also other sports. There'll be football coming here, there'll be rugby league, so there'll be a lot of opportunities to go along to the stadium.
Due to the high cost of the stadium, with a price tag just under $700 million, rates in Christchurch will almost definitely go up. This factor has caused some of the public to change their view on the build.
The stadium is for the future of Christchurch, so we've just got to suck it up. Look, I'm in favour of ratepayers contributing. Everyone's going to benefit, whether they go to the stadium or not. The local economy will benefit, and I think ratepayers should foot some of the bill.
After talking to the Te Kaha General Manager, James Kent, he stated that the stadium would be an awesome boost for the city's economy and is really excited to see it open. Tourists coming for events will probably explore the city, which will also boost the revenue of local businesses.
It'll give us another world-class sporting arena as well. So, it'll be a big boost to the city in that regard, and it'll also generate a lot of activity within the central city, which will drive a lot of economic stimulus in the area as well.
With its ability to host international concerts and other high-profile events, it is likely to attract visitors from all around New Zealand and around the world. This move is expected to boost Christchurch's status as a sports hub in New Zealand and is expected to attract sports from far and wide.
Events to Christchurch that are currently bypassing us, either not coming to the South Island at all or going down to Forsyth Bar. And it will also reinstate, I guess, our status as an international sporting city. Orange Theory, or at least Apollo Project Stadium, as it is now, has been fantastic as a temporary venue, but clearly it's not up to international standard.
Due to the aftermath of the devastating earthquake, Christchurch has shown the world its determination to rebuild and revitalise. The stadium stands as a symbol of this spirit, offering a place for the community to come together and celebrate the city's rich culture and heritage. But will the hefty price tag keep Christchurch's residents happy? Or will the council fall into huge debt? Well, you'll have to find out next time on College News.
Good morning, my name is Archie and today I investigate why New Zealand is the best rugby nation of all time. Throughout the journey I've talked to Stu Hunter, the Canterbury rugby manager, Max Osmers, Christ College rugby player, and finally Tim Redfern, a Christ College rugby coach.
It is over!
A different range of people had to say about the topic. The first person I talked to was Stu Hunter. Stu is the current Canterbury rugby manager, the former Tasman rugby manager, and former New Zealand age representative rugby manager. When asked, what do you think makes New Zealand such a good and successful rugby country? His response was, rugby is just a part of the good old Kiwi upbringing.
Rugby is part of our fabric in this country. It's just part of the good old Kiwi upbringing. You know, you're a 5-year-old playing ripper rugby or touch rugby. You're learning the basics. So a lot of countries, a kid at that same age might not be doing anything. They might be kicking a football. They might be, if it's Australia, they might be kicking an AFL ball or throwing a cricket ball.
One of the main reasons why New Zealand is so strong at rugby is its player development system. From a young age, New Zealand identifies and investigates in promising rugby players. When you start rugby in New Zealand, you start off playing ripper rugby, learning about the aspects of passing and running with the ball. From age 8 to 9, you are straight into the tackle side of the game. In high school, you can be 16 years old playing with and against 18-year-old full-grown men. This sets up players to be physically and mentally strong to get past and shut down the bigger people. Max Osmers, a 15-year-old high school rugby player, says the junior program is good and enjoys the competitions and tournaments.
I reckon NZ rugby, junior rugby, and schoolboy is great fun. It's pretty well organised. It's good tournaments, good competition, and all right rules, I guess. Good safety and good fun.
He also says that the mental side of the game is one of the biggest parts in rugby.
I think mental is very important to rugby. It's all about how you could apply yourself to the game and how you want to get better and how you try your best in every training, every game, and that will just come. Then that success will come with that.
Not only has New Zealand dominated in the International League, they have also been dominant in the Super Rugby League. Super Rugby is a major part of rugby. There are 12 teams that compete in this league, including 5 New Zealand franchises, 5 Australian franchises, and 2 Pacifica franchises. Across some years there has been other teams such as South African teams and Argentina teams. The competition has been dominated by New Zealand teams though, who have won 18 times in 26 years. One team, the Crusaders, who have won the most often with 11 titles, including 3 other COVID-affected competitions. Super Rugby provides a high level of competition that allows for development at the highest level. Young players can gain experience playing against and alongside some of the best players in the world. Being in a tournament that includes teams from Australia, South Africa and sometimes other countries gives New Zealand players and teams a variety of playing styles. This helps the players on what it will be like when they play international rugby. The league does not only make players better, but it creates pathways for players to transition into the international level. Performing well in Super Rugby often leads to selection for the All Blacks, providing a direct route for players to represent their country. Christ College rugby coach and old boy Tim Redfern speaks on how Super Rugby has had a major effect on New Zealand rugby as a whole.
Super Rugby has had a huge effect on New Zealand rugby. It's allowed our best players to play professionally in this country for their franchises, been eligible for the All Blacks playing domestically here in New Zealand. If they went overseas, they wouldn't be available for the All Blacks. So it's really helped strengthen our game.
The All Blacks have been so dominant in the rugby industry that they have won over 80% of the test matches they have played, clearly showing that they are the most successful rugby team of all time.
We're probably the most successful rugby nation in the world. I think we've won close to 80% of all our test matches. It's our national game, so it's obviously a very important game to New Zealanders. We've produced a huge number of world-class players over the years and world-class rugby teams. So I would regard us as probably the finest rugby nation in the world.
Well, there you have it. Although New Zealand couldn't get over the line in this year's Rugby World Cup final, they are still the best nation to ever play the sport. From breaking records and lifting trophies in the international level to doing the same in the Super Rugby and domestic level, New Zealand will always remain the greatest rugby nation of all time.
Good morning, Christ's College Radio. My name is Oscar Stove and I am a Year 10 student at Christ's College. This year, my investigative journalism audio package investigates the best petrol stations in Canterbury. I will be judging this on 3 different categories. Number 1, what is the cheapest? Number 2, what has the biggest selection of convenience? And number 3 is up to the people. What is the most popular?
We have 7 contestants in this competition. They are Mobil, Caltex, Gull, NPD, Challenge Fuel, BP and Z Energy. To start off, we must find out the cheapest gas station in Canterbury. Originally, I had trouble finding these prices quickly until one of my interviews led me to a useful tool.
I can't remember what it's called, but there's an app that I look at that's got like the cheapest prices.
This app is called Gaspy, and it tells you the prices of fuel in New Zealand. I have taken the 3 top spots with the cheapest price, and they are Tasman Springs Self-Serve in Hallsville coming in 3rd, NPD Self-Serve in Hornby coming 2nd, and in 1st place is another NPD Self-Serve in Wigram. This means the NPD has taken the 1st spot place for the cheapest gas station. I thought it would be important to mention the bottom 3 brands as well. They are Mobil, Caltex and Challenge. Next is our selection round. This will be based on the range of convenience food/items as well as add-ons, e.g. a car wash and trailer hire. This was one of our closest categories yet, with all contestants showing promise. Gull was the only station to have no other services available. Around 20% of NPD stations had a car wash and convenience food, and most of Caltex and Mobil stations also had those. Z and BP offered everything at all places. This means that Z and BP draw this round. This leads us to our final round, popularity. I have run surveys and many live interviews to determine the winner. The surveys I conducted concluded that around 25% of people use Z, and around 20% of people use BP, and the other 55% use Gull, NPD, Mobil, Challenge or Tasman Fuels. I interviewed some public and asked them what gas station they go to and if there was any specific reason for that, e.g. close to home.
I usually go to my local NPD. It is very close to my home, but it's also quite good on prices.
I use BP. Well, it's accessibility because it is close to where I live, but I also like to use the car wash, and sometimes they have quite good lollies.
I also went to 3 different gas stations to ask people what they went to the gas station for and why they chose that specific brand. These were the 3 BP interviews. Oh, fair enough. And I was just wondering why you chose this BP today. A third person came for sunglasses because they live just around the corner. There was only one person who came to the mobile I was stationed at. Accessibility? I also went to Caltex, and of the 3 people that went there, in the 10 minutes I was there, they all purchased vapes or vaping products. It seems that many people are visiting gas stations for other things than just gas. For the 10 minutes that I was at the BP, there were about 20 to 30 people there. For the 10 minutes that I was at the BP, there were about 20 to 30 people there. When I was at Caltex, there were 3 people, and at Mobile, there was only 1. I think we have a joint winner here with a tie between BP and Z. This means that our overall winners are BP and Z. Although this is unacceptable as we must find the best. We must determine the winner by going back to the prices. The cheapest of the 2 will win this challenge and be claimed as the best petrol station in Christchurch. So, without further ado, the winner is, by cheapest price, Z.
Kia ora, and welcome to this podcast on why New Zealand is the strongest rugby nation of all time. I'm James, and today I'll be interviewing current Canterbury Rugby manager Stu Hunter, highly experienced rugby player and coach Tim Redfern, and current high school rugby player Max Osborne.
New Zealand want the steal. Whitelock! And the dynasty continues.
When you think of rugby, you think of big hits, big plays, and New Zealand. New Zealand is infamous for rugby.
The All Blacks are famous for having one of the most impressive winning percentages in history. With 3 World Cups under their name and multiple other trophy wins, it's clear the All Blacks are the best international rugby team of all time. First up on the show, we interviewed Stu Hunter. Stu has managed Canterbury, Tasman and New Zealand age representative teams. Here's what he had to say. What are some of the reasons why New Zealand rugby is so strong?
I think in having a bit of a think about this over the last week, rugby is part of our fabric in this country, and it's just part of the good old Kiwi upbringing. Systems start young. You're a 5-year-old playing ripper rugby or touch rugby. We have to work hard. There's a small percentage that seem to look like it's easy, but believe me, those boys still have to put in the hard yards as well. As you'll know now, there's boys that you've played with and are playing with currently, and in the future, these are your best mates for life. So I think that's one of the key things with New Zealand rugby too, is it's not just about the sport, it's the opportunities that it gives you, outside as well. So
New Zealand rugby isn't just strong internationally, but at club level they dominate too. Out of the 23 years of Super Rugby involving South Africa, Australia, Argentina, Japan and New Zealand won a staggering 16 of those. And ever since the competition has turned into New Zealand, Australia and Pacific Islands, New Zealand teams have won every single one. After school, you can play rugby socially or seriously for clubs around your town. You can even play for your university. The clubs have great pathways and also great environments for anyone who wants to play rugby. Next, I interviewed Max Osmers, a current student at Christ College who this year was in the under-15 A team and has played rugby all of his life.
I reckon NZ rugby, junior rugby, and the schoolboy is great fun. It's pretty well organised. It's good tournaments, good competition, and all right rules, I guess. Good safety and good fun.
New Zealand has been known for its physical rugby. As a player, do you think the mental side of the game affects the way you play?
I think mental is very important to rugby. It's all about how you could apply yourself to the game and how you want to get better and how you try your best in every training, every game, and that will just come. Then that success will come with that. So yeah.
New Zealand has a very simple junior and senior rugby system. You start in your first year of school with people the same age as you. That carries on all the way to high school, where for the first 2 years you also play against your year groups. At most schools, when you reach year 11, you play with and against anyone from your year to year 13. Next up, we interviewed Tim Redfern. Tim is a current coach of a high school rugby team and a good hard rugby man. With lots of rugby experience under his belt, Tim knows his stuff. Here's some of his answers.
We've had a history of success. We're probably the most successful rugby nation in the world. I think we've won close to 80% of all our test matches in the last 130 years. It's our national game, so it's obviously a very important game to New Zealanders. We've produced a huge number of world-class players over the years and world-class rugby teams.
Yeah.
Super Rugby has had a huge effect on New Zealand rugby. It's allowed our best players to play professionally in this country for their franchises, and it has helped keep players in this country.
Rugby got its start in New Zealand in the 1870s when a young man named Charles Munro came back from England and introduced it to us. People here loved the game because it was all about toughness and working together as a team. Then, in 1884, something historic happened. The New Zealand native rugby team, made up of mostly Māori players, went on a tour of the UK. They played some great rugby and showed the world our unique style of the game. This tour was a huge deal and helped rugby become super popular in New Zealand. It's the reasons why we have the All Blacks, Super Rugby, schoolboy games and lots more great rugby. After all that said, I firmly believe that New Zealand is the strongest rugby nation ever. I personally think that our long-running reign and high winning percent are the main reasons for this. Thank you for listening, and I hope you have enjoyed this podcast.
Hello, my name is Jack Fletcher and I am reporting for Christ College News. Today I am talking about why Christ College is good for sports. I've interviewed two people from Christ College. One is the head of sports, Ben McPherson, and the other is Stephen Dodds, head of cricket and head of rugby, and is also the assistant head of sport.
My first interview is with Stephen Dodds, assistant head of sport. First I asked him about what his background was around coaching and coaching at different schools. Here is what he had to say.
My background is in sport. I played sport to quite a high level. I was a professional rugby player and I was a professional coach in Ireland in the 90s. I was 10 years in Ireland, and I then went into the Royal College of Surgeons, which is a big university in Dublin, and I was the director of sport in there. And I came back from overseas and I went into Christchurch Boys High as their director of rugby and cricket, and I basically directed those two sports there for 14 years. In between then I went to Japan. I was a consultant in universities in Japan, so I did a lot of directing of sport in those universities in Japan as a consultant. And all the way I continued to do a bit of coaching and things.
My second question for Stephen Dodds is, how long have you been involved with Christ College sport and what is your role? Here is what he had to say.
I was 8 years at Christ College last Thursday, and I came from Boys High in 2015 after the Christ College first 15 were going through a bit of a tough time, and they'd been beaten convincingly by Boys High. So I did a report on the rugby here and the sport, and as a consequence of that report, college asked if I'd be interested in helping their sports program, and I said yes, I would. And so that's how I came to work at Christ College.
For my third question, I asked him, what are your thoughts on Christ College sport? Here is what he had to say.
My thoughts are that we are very good compared to everywhere else, but that doesn't mean we're really good. We're in an environment where sport in New Zealand at teenage boys level is struggling a wee bit. It's struggling because there's less teachers involved in the programs, and so a lot of the state schools are struggling to put good sports programs together, and they're not resourced. And so that makes us look possibly better than we are, and although we are still very good, we are not at the level, and I don't look at it as winning or losing, I just look at it, how is our program, are we doing the best for our players, have we got everything in line, and I still think we've got some way to go there.
For my fourth question, I asked him, have you coached anyone that has gone on to be a professional sportsman? Here's what he had to say.
I've coached probably 25 All Blacks. I've coached probably half a dozen Japan internationals that have gone on to play for Japan, and I coached 4 Ireland players that went on to play for Ireland. That's including your Brian O'Driscolls, your Dan Carters, Luke Romanos, your Kieran Reeds, your Owen Frank, your Gordon Darcys, your Shota Horie, who's probably one of the best players in the world in Japan. Yes, I've coached lots and lots of boys who've gone on to be ranked internationally in their sport. And in the cricket I've coached, the Tom Lathams, the Corey Andersons. So I've had a lot of cricket boys I've coached as well.
Now, for my fifth question, I asked him, what do you think makes a good sports program at a high school level? Here's what he had to say.
Good sports program does this. It creates opportunities for your late developing boys. So by that, I mean it allows boys who might not be good at year 9 to still be good or in the first 15 or the first 11 or the 18 when they're year 12 or 13. Our program is doing that, not to the best at the moment, but we've got to understand that some boys aren't going to be best at year 9 because they develop later than other boys.
To summarise what he has just said, you can see that the school must be good for sport because there have been lots of professional sportsmen that have came out of there and lots of good coaches who have coached other professional sportsmen from other places. Christ College also has lots of sports equipment for the boys compared to other schools, so there are more opportunities for the boys to get involved with sports as well as the quality of the coaching that Christ College has to offer. For my second interview, I am talking to Ben McBrearty, head of sport. My first question I asked him was, have you always been involved with Christ College sport? Here is what he had to say.
So all of my involvement with Christ College has been to do with sport. Last year I was involved with the First 15 through strength and conditioning, as well as PE teaching and relief, and then obviously this year as director of sport.
The second question that I asked him was, have you been involved with sports at any other schools? Here is what he had to say.
Prior to coming to Christ College, I lived in Australia, and my involvement at the school I worked at there was in the same role. So I was the director of sport at the school there, about 1,100 boys. My involvement with sport was in the strength and conditioning realm.
Now for my third question, I asked him, how do those school sports compare to Christ College's? Here is what he had to say.
Christ College sport is superior to my involvement at the other school. So the resources that we have and are able to provide to our boys are better. And I guess in terms of the wins and losses, the success that we have at Christ College is more evenly spread. So the success that we had at my previous school was probably just in football, maybe a little bit in cricket. But certainly the width of success that we have in terms of scoreboard success is much wider here at college.
Now for my fourth and final question, I asked him, are there any changes that you would like to make as your role, head of sport? Here is what he had to say.
There's lots of changes. I've already made lots of changes in my role, but you may not be aware of them as a student. Some of them the staff will be aware of, and some of them, like the change to year 13 one sport, is a pretty big change for students at college. Are there any other changes I'd like to make? It's probably like a day-to-day prospect really, and I guess it's part of my role is sort of always surveying what's happening and where we can improve, and sometimes those things become more obvious over time as to what changes are necessary. So nothing really comes to mind in terms of answering that question today, but I guess over time there were definitely changes that will be made.
Now to summarise what he has just said, you can see that our school has got more sporting success as a lot of teams are winning lots of their games, whereas compared to his other school in Australia when he was head of sports there, the school didn't have as much sporting success as Christ College. Now to answer my question at the start of the podcast about why Christ College is good for sports, you can see that it is good for sport as there has been loads of professional sportsmen from lots of sports and real good experienced coaches. Also, Christ College has lots of sporting success compared to other schools and has lots of sporting equipment and facilities and coaching. So to finalise my question, yes, Christ College is good, or you could even say great for sport. Thank you for listening to this podcast and make sure to stay tuned for the next one. See you later.